Hello, everyone, and we are the Matriarchs of Fandom. I am here today with Miss Lady Gray and Miss Liz, and we're going to do our little show for tonight. Now, Halloween is next week, and even though I don't watch horror movies, and I don't think Miss Liz or Lady Gray actually watch horror movies, but there is some things that happen in some of these movies that I personally think is just ridiculous. Even though I'm not really watching the movie, Saul or Halloween, there is some things that go on in certain movies that it just doesn't make sense to me today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this stupid stuff people do in movies. Now, some of the movies that I'm going to mention is Scream, Scary Movie, The Blackening, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Scooby-Doo, which is not a movie, so to speak. I mean, kind of is. I think they did two of them, but it's also a regular cartoon, a TV show. The first thing I wanted to mention is hear a noise, and there you go. Hear a noise and go see what it is. I am sorry. If I hear a weird sound, and I do this at work, I'll be like, I'm gone. There's no reason for me to stick around and find out what the noise is. I'm good. I can watch it on the news. I can find out later on. Somebody can tell me. I don't need to be there. Miss Liz, what do you think of this first concept? Hear a noise. Now, if you hear something scary, are you going to go and investigate it? Or are you going to be like, deuces? What would you do if you hear a sound that's unfamiliar to you?
Well, in real life, I probably end up going to find out what it is. And once I have found it, I'm taking instant stage left, leaving. I'm not going to stick around but because I always investigate if there's something, a noise that's going on in the house that shouldn't be going on, which generally is the cats getting into some kind of trouble. But as far as now, if it's going to be a spooky noise, like a screaming, laughing ghost, that kind of thing, no, I probably would not go and investigate it. But if it's reasonably normal, you heard something like a crash or glass breaking, that kind of thing. Yeah, I would probably go and find out what it is. But if it's a cackling, laughing, whatever, that's definitely super, like scary, no, I wouldn't go look for it. But if it's normal, you know, like I said, something crashing or something that's it's not scary, if you know what I mean.
Okay, Miss Liz. Now you know curiosity killed the cat.
Would not,
right?
if it's if it's like a crashing noise or a breaking noise,
Okay.
or something like that. But if it's a cackling, horrible ghost type, or a witch or a demon or something of that nature, I'm going the other way.
Okay. Lady Gray, are you going to investigate on the noise?
I mean, okay, so if it's something like Miss Liz said, like glass breaking or something like that, I'm locking the door. I have security cameras. I'm going to check it out through the security camera. Now if it's something spooky like cackling or ghost sounding woo like that, I might be more likely to have my curiosity get the best of it and go check that out. And yeah, I realize that would be really dumb, but I probably would. But yeah, if I'm in the house and I hear glass break outside, I'm probably looking through the security camera first. I'm probably not going out to investigate that. You know, or I'm probably likely to kind of lock the door, but have the dog there with me. And if the dog is growling or whimpering, yeah, no, I'm not going out there. I'm going to trust the dog's instincts before I go out there. You know, if the dog says nope, I'm going to listen to him.
All right, power to y'all, because no, no, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to know. Okay. Another one I got is, which is in a lot of horror movies or even comedy movies, like in Scream, they have sex. Now, when you watch, some of these movies and, like I said, Scream, you know, according to the concept in the first movie, poor Sydney was kind of okay until she had sex with the killer. And at the end of the movie, they kind of said, oops, you're not the virgin anymore. She didn't die, but she did get it on. Now, do you think this is an interesting concept of, hey, I'm no longer a virgin, come and get me? Or do you think that's really silly? I'm going to go ahead and go to Lady Gray to answer this question first.
I think what it is you're so distracted. The premise being that you're so distracted, you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. So then maybe that's what it is. More than the whole folklore. You're not a virgin anymore. Was in Friday the 13th. I think that was in the original movie, if I'm remembering. It's been like decades since I saw the original movie. But that the camp counselors were busy goofing off, making out and stuff, and that was how the little boy died. So if you're off making out, having sex and whatnot, that you're so into that you're not aware of what's going on around you, and that's how you become a victim. So I kind of wonder if that's how that started, or is that how that got started in the movies? I don't know.
Okay.
But
yeah, interesting.
yeah.
You need to look that up. Miss Liz, have sex?
No. Absolutely, positively not. Not happening. I have better common sense than that.
Let's see. There was a message up. I didn't get a chance to read it. So busy. I'm laughing at Miss Liz.
Yeah,
Friday the 13th did it best because it got them killed. So his mom killed all sex craved kids. Okay, so maybe because
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay. I've only kind of seen the first Friday the 13th, and
I haven't seen
like
any
Lady
of them,
Gray,
so I
that's been
wouldn't know.
years.
Yeah, I was like in high school when I saw it. So yeah, it's been more years than I care to admit.
Well, I've not seen any of them, so
yeah.
Okay.
I'm
All
just
right.
going on pure common sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And not sex.
And a lot of those movies, they don't have any common sense.
This is true.
Next stupid item is you're in a house and you go to the basement, or there's a graveyard out back. You run into the graveyard, or even you see a large isolated mansion like in Rocky Horror, and I'm going to go to that mansion and see what's going on. I am sorry. The only time I go to a basement is when I used to live in Wichita, Kansas, when I was in 3rd grade. The only time I go into a graveyard is I'm at a funeral. So I'm not just going to go there. It could be one in the backyard. I'm not going back there. In an isolated mansion, I do like the Tower of Terror, but that's it. I'm not going in there. I almost rather sit in the car than go into these places. Lady Grade, what do you think about this concept? Why are you going there?
Um, I'm not going into basements. That has more to actually do with um creepy crawly rodents and bugs and stuff than actual killers being there. Um, I don't do creepy crawly rodents, bugs, and stuff like that. Then I'm not so much worried about anything, anybody being down there. It's whatever vermin is down there. Same thing applies with attics. Um, Graveyards really don't bother me. I actually have always found them kind of peaceful. Um, I know it's weird. I actually, oddly enough, we were in one the other day, and we were kind of remarking, because it was in the mountains, and it was just, the view was beautiful because it was on top of the mountains. When we were sitting there, gosh, this is so peaceful up here.
Well, they're all dead.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead. It's beautiful. There's flowers. There's trees. The view's nice. So graveyards don't necessarily bother me, but of course, it wasn't like Night of the Living Dead either. So that's um, but my reluctance for things like that would be more because of critters than I would be worried about
Okay.
people. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Miss Liz?
Well, if it's a strange place and it's midnight or later and I am definitely lost, I think I would have more of a chance of staying in the car. Common sense would kind of take over, unless the car is not running. Of course, then we take off. Um, Graveyards after dark, forget it. You won't catch me anywhere near a cemetery after dark. Just nope, creepy. Yeah, no, definitely not. Attics. I think attics are absolutely incredibly interesting because the things you find in. Of course, my Aunt Harriet had a big, beautiful house with a gorgeous walk-in attic, and there was always something interesting when we were kids to go look. Of course, we were up there in the daytime, so uh, and we had a basement, and it was perfectly lighted, and my dad had it all renovated, and we us kids we spent a lot of time in our basement because that's where the TV room was,
Uh,
and that
so
kind of
it's
thing,
not
and
really a
also the
city.
laundry room was down there, so uh, I've never been in a basement where it was, where, creepy crawly nothing. I've never been in a basement like that. But
Okay.
and like I said, the couple of attics that I've ever been in were extremely interesting. But it was also in the daytime, and I knew what I was looking at.
Okay.
But if there's, you know, I'm not sure whether I would go into a strange house in the middle of the night. Uh, no, especially if it's abandoned. At night, I don't think so.
So in the middle of the day, it's okay, but not at night.
No, if it's in the daytime, I don't really have that much trouble with going into old houses because when we were kids, there were a lot of old houses before they tore everything down and built the subdivision. There were a few old houses that we don't tell my parents, but they're of course they're not
I
around
won't.
anymore to tell them. But when we were kids, we did exactly what we were supposed to do. We would go down there, and investigate the old farmhouses before they all, went away. And that it was because it was interesting. We were kids. We didn't know any better. There were really most of the time there wasn't much in there. Yeah,
Okay.
few cobwebs, dust, a lot of dust. But no, but this was in the daytime, mind you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I'm good. Nighttime, daytime, isolated mansion. No. All right. So we're in the house and we're running, and I'm gonna go into the other room and I'm gonna slam the door, but I'm not gonna lock the door. I mean, really. The bedroom doors usually have locks on it. Why did I close that door and not lock it? Because if I'm already being chased, I'm they're looking for me. Or even if I'm not being chased and I know there's something bad, I'm still gonna creep through the door and try to lock it. So I'm asking you, Miss Liz, if you somebody running after you and you're trying to hide from somebody, are you gonna go into that room and lock the door? Or are you just gonna slam the door and hide under the bed?
Well, I would definitely lock the door, and then I would try to find a weapon, something to whack whoever's trying to come if they come through the door that I have just locked. But you never know with crazy people.
Mm.
Uh, my first instinct is to find my way uh, someplace safe because now
Okay.
oh
Okay.
no, Mark, not happening.
I just watched that movie yesterday, as a matter of fact.
No,
Um,
I saw it. What is one of the few scary movies I've ever seen because I happen to like Nick, and it terrified the hell out of me, and I never watched it again.
okay.
And they
Okay.
still show that damn scene, which the two scenes that always scared the bejeebies out of me, and that's him breaking through the door with a
Mhm.
hatchet,
And I'm
and
sure
then
that door was locked.
those two creepy little girls
Run, run, run,
running up and down the hallway with the
True that.
bicycles and whatnot. Now that's scary.
Lady Gray locking the door.
I mean, why wouldn't you lock the door? I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of with you. Why wouldn't you lock the door?
And block the door.
Though, I mean, I guess maybe if you're trying to think logically, so if you unlock the door, then and hide under the bed, if you leave it unlocked and you hide under the bed, maybe it would make whoever's chasing you think, okay, well, maybe they didn't come in here.
Okay.
Maybe they went somewhere else. That's the only reason I can think to not lock the door. I can't read. Why else wouldn't you lock the door? It just
Yes.
doesn't make any sense. I mean, though, to Marky Mark's point there, here's Johnny. That most bedroom doors are most interior doors are hollow. They're pretty easy to break through.
True.
Especially if someone's a little bit psychotic, and let's face it, if they're chasing you, they probably are. So how much good is it going to do you? But it might slow them down long enough for you to find a weapon.
Yeah. Or stay alive just a few more seconds.
Yeah, long enough to dial 911 or go out the window or something. I don't know.
Now, it's kind of funny you said dial 911. Another strange things I see sometimes in horror movies is they're in an area where there's no cell service, or even to the point that person is
Or a
chasing
landline.
them, or yeah, landline, or that person is chasing them, and you don't even put your phone or silence. You know how many movies I've seen where the threat is looking for you and your phone rings. Now they know where you're at. Now do you think that's because they don't have time to shut their phone off? Would you go in an area? I know, Lady Gray, you said you went in the mountains. Did you have cell service? I mean,
A
what's the
lot
hidden
of a
questions?
lot of places up there didn't have cell service.
And
Yeah,
you went?
I mean, you kind of had to drive from point A to point B. So yeah, driving. I mean, when you were on top of the mountain, you would have pretty decent cell service. But like when you were going down in the hollows, between mountains, there were a lot of times you did not have cell service, and like your GPS would kind of blip out and be going from memory, and you just had to hope it downloaded the most current but yeah, you didn't have self-service. I know there's one Boy Scout camp that my son went to up there where you had zero self-service,
Mm.
and I did not like that at all. I didn't like the fact that he was up there for like a week with no self-service.
Ooh, a
I
week.
grew up with those cell service.
And yeah, the only phone was the one at the camp store, and that yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Oh
But I
yeah,
mean, to Miss Liz's point, we grew up. I mean, I didn't have a cell phone until I was older. As a kid, we
True.
didn't have one,
we had
and now,
landlines and we went camping and we never had any way
yeah,
of the summer camp that we went to when we were kids. The only place that
yeah,
had landline was like the camp counselor,
yeah,
the main
that
building, and that was it.
yeah, that's
You know,
we just can't wrap our minds around it these days, but we
Yeah.
did, and
we never had any problems. You
well,
know,
you say we never had any problems, but a lot of people did have problems. We just,
Yeah. We was too young to watch the news, knowing that they're dead.
it, yeah, no, and I mean, you had, I mean, you had the infamous Girl Scout camp murders.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
yeah,
I was in the Girl Scout and we never had that problem. I mean, the worst thing
no, it's
the
a
worst
very
thing we
famous
had to
case,
deal
though.
with was
Yeah,
rain and mud.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying. You know,
Rain and mud was all we ever
Oh,
had to deal
yeah,
with.
Okay, moving right along. I'm glad you're
yeah,
here with us, Miss Liz. And not, dead somewhere when you was a Girl Scout when you were
yeah.
10.
But you
Alrighty.
got to remember, I grew up in the '60s, and
Yeah, there wasn't murderers and
I'm sure there were, but wherever
I can't
the Girl Scout camps that I went to, like I said, the worst thing we had to deal with was rain and mud.
okay. You
Rain,
wasn't
mud, and it being either cold or too hot. That was it.
yeah, so that was murder.
Not as far as we were concerned. Of course, we were kids. I can just imagine what the adults thought. But when we were
Yeah.
kids, it was
Yeah.
all fun and games until you're
Yeah.
standing in a ditch with a lot of rain and a
Okay.
lot of mud.
All right. Well, let's say we're at camp, at Girl Scout camp, and instead of going to the bright lights that you see to the right, you go deeper and deeper into the woods to the left. I don't know
No,
how many times I've seen this in movies. There's even, I think, a commercial that was on a couple of years ago, and yeah, go ahead, Lady Gray. You
I
know what
remember that one. Yeah, because the girl is like, "Why wouldn't we go this way towards the light?" And all her friends are going, "No, no, we need to go this way." And there's like dark, and there's like the barn, and there's like an axe murderer there with a chainsaw, and her friends are running towards it, and she goes, "But why won't we go this
those
way?"
are
And there's
my
like a
car.
Jeep right there they could get into, and it's yeah, I remember that commercial. It's freaking
I remember
hilarious.
that commercial.
Yes.
I remember that commercial. There's the common sense not working.
Yep.
Yes. Now, do you think they don't have common sense because they are being chased by the murderer, or do you think? I mean, I hate to say it, they just don't have common sense. Answer that question, Miss Liz.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, if you got this shed that's got all these weapons and things hanging from the ceiling, and of course the chainsaw guy is hanging there waiting for somebody to come in, and there's a running vehicle on the road to get you the hell out of there. I think I'd be going for the running vehicle and not into the shed. It's just it's
Stupid.
I mean, where's their brain? The one girl, actually knew what was going on. And the other ones are all going, well, let's go hide in the shed.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
All right. All right. Now, Miss Lady Gray, I'm going to ask you this question. I know earlier, I don't know if you were on, I mentioned Scooby Doo, which came out in 1969. Now, in Scooby Doo, they always split up. I never did understood why, Thelma and Fred and Daphne would go in one way and Shaggy and Scooby would go another, knowing after the 50th episode who the bad guy is going to chase. Now, do you think that was right with Scooby Doo?
And Shaggy and Scooby would always be like, no, no, but Fred and Daphne and they would always be like, yeah, let's spread up, and Shaggy and Scooby would be like, but wait, what? And they never listened to poor Shaggy and Scooby, and it just, I don't know. I think Shaggy and Scooby were the smartest two of the bunch. I really, really do, and I think out of all of them, Fred was the dumbest. He really was dumber than a box of rocks.
Agreed.
Just-
Now, Miss Liz, while you were in that Girl Scout camp, did you ever fall? Because they do that in these scary movies. They fall, and then the bad guy always, you have your strong person, it usually is a man, the girl falls over, and sometimes he'll go back and pick her up and try to run. But how do you feel about people falling in scary movies? Do that make sense to you?
I don't know. Well, since I didn't watch a lot of scary movies, I don't know. But if you've got a group of people and somebody trips and falls, you'd pick that person up and help them out. I know I would. But, I wouldn't leave them behind. As long as we're able, I wouldn't leave them behind.
Okay, good answer, Miss Liz. Lady Gray, would you leave them behind? Because I know what I would do.
So the whole falling, that's a trope that gets used in a lot of movies. But the fact that I'm a huge klutz means I would probably be the one that would fall. So, it's a funny story. My cat used to go out in our garage. That was like his play place because he wasn't allowed to go outside, but he'd go in the garage. So he brought me a snake one time, I guess slithered underneath. It was just a little baby snake about that long that slithered underneath the garage door, and he brought it in. He was so proud of himself when he was a kitten. He thought he was a big hunter. Bring me the snake. My husband, my brave husband, left me for dead. Cat drops the snake at my feet, and my husband is gone. So this tells me all I need to know about if I fall in a horror movie. He loves me, but I better get myself back up because he is gone.
I'm there with your husband. I hate to say
Oh
it.
yeah, he left me and the snake behind. He was out the front door. I yelled snake, and he was out the front door before the words had completely left him.
I know my mother wouldn't pick me up because my mother was terrified of snakes.
I managed to catch the snake. I got it because snakes apparently when they're that young will play dead. So the snake played dead because it was still alive, but it was playing dead, and I managed to catch the snake and take it out back and let it loose in the woods behind the house. But yeah,
Okay.
no, he left me for dead.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. I laugh about it because it's actually just funny, but I give him a hard
It
time.
And
Lose me for the snake.
we had a couple of comments. I think that was posted. I think someone said, "I'm not the fastest for Marky Mark. I just need to outrun you." I say this all the time at work. If anybody was to come into the store and with a weapon. I'm like, look, if you're in front of me, I'm going to close and lock the door. But if you're behind me, I'm going to pray for you because I don't know what I can do. And then Taco Cat, they wouldn't have fallen because I tripped them to get away. Yeah.
There you go.
No.
Well, that's the other thing I always say. I don't run.
Yeah.
I'm not a runner. If it depends on me running, I'm just gonna go meet Jesus and be happy with my life.
Another one I have up here is, you hear that noise and you're like, hello? Now, I know I do that. I have to admit, sometimes when I'm home by myself, there is a ghost. We have two that lives here. They're nice ghosts. But I know there's times when I be in the bedroom, I hear in the hall and, I'll be like, hello? Yeah, I'm just, okay. And I'll make, okay, I hear you. Okay, have a nice night. In horror movies, I don't know. You kind of should say silent, but they're always asking, they're always making noises. Ms. Liz, if you're in a horror movie and somebody, you hear this weird noise, are you gonna hello? Or are you just gonna, be quiet, lock that door and find that weapon?
Be quiet, lock the door, and find the weapon. Especially if it's a spooky noise. Yeah. Especially if it's somebody like Jack. Nope.
Okay.
I'll be out of there faster than you could say boo to a goose.
And fast as you said what now, baby?
Huh?
What did you say? Fast as what?
I'd be faster out of there than boo to a ghost.
Boo,
In other words, boo, ghost.
Oh, boo, ghost. Oh, okay. I thought this was slang that I didn't know. And Miss Lady Gray, I believe you're a fan of Charm. I know you like Harry Potter. Do you think it's smart for us to read out of that scary spell book?
I mean, I haven't always claimed to be the brightest, so I probably would do. I've been known to do stupid stuff like that before, so I say as I sit here with all my spooky stuff behind me. Yeah, life is full of
Yes, you're reading the book. Yes, you're reading the book. You got the book
probably.
open. It spells, like in The Mummy, you're going to read the Book of the Dead.
Oh God, yes.
Probably, I probably would be the one reading out of the book. I mean, there are some things I don't touch, but yeah, there are some things that I probably flirt with a little bit more than I should. How's that?
If it's a book and it's locked, I'm not reading it. I ain't opening that book if it's locked. There's a reason that book's locked.
Well, the door is not locked, so
No,
geez.
Charmed. I never saw Charmed. I've only seen commercials.
I have all the
for it.
seasons.
But yeah. But yes, if it's a Book of the Dead,
yes,
with all those horrible hieroglyphics and whatnot all over it, and it's locked, and there's a reason it's locked, there's no way I would be opening it up and looking at it. It's just not common sense right there.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Ain't going to happen.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to do this show just because, like I said earlier, Halloween is, next Friday. And I know this time of year, a few of us like to watch, some scary movies. And, I think Scream is going back into theaters,
Yeah, I
and
heard that too.
it's
The
a
new
silly
there's a
movie.
new one coming out.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know how I
excited
feel
Okay.
about
about
that.
that. I think that's kind of weird, but
I,
I'm gonna
I
go and see it.
well, I'm hoping this is going to be the final one that's going to close up the trilogy. They're bringing Matthew Lillard
Mm.
back.
How?
I don't. Well, the theory has been that we never really saw him die. So the
You
fan
did
theory,
tell on
the fan theory's always been that he's not really dead.
him. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I'm hoping they don't completely blow it. And it's one of my favorite horror franchises. It's like my favorite horror franchise. So I'm really hoping they don't blow it.
I hope so. I watch it almost every time. Either all of them has been on. I think there's been 7
Mhm.
of them. And I enjoy watching them. They're silly.
Yeah.
I know the other day I watched the Final Destination. And to me that's goes in line with the Scream movies. Taco Cat says there is a new official Friday the 13th mini you can find online. It's official part of the Jason line. See,
Hmm.
I've only saw the first one, so I don't know too much about Friday the 13th. You
You
know,
won't catch me watching any of them.
I remember watching the different Friday the 13th back in high school, but it's been years since I've watched
yeah.
those. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Nope.
okay.
sometimes is worth a shot to try
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You never
It's been
know.
a while, but yeah, it might be interesting to go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My idea of scary movies are the old black and whites with Frankenstein and the Mummy and Abbott
Oh,
and
those are
Costello
always classic.
and,
You're
Oh
right.
and
yeah.
Abbott and Costello and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And the werewolf. Now that that kind of scary movie. That's as far as I will go. I
Okay.
won't. I don't do any of the.
Well,
You
if you could name one scary movie, Miss Liz, either from back in the day or now, which one would I would say is your favorite?
let me see. Of the back ones, I'd say I really really enjoyed. I enjoyed Werewolf and then the Frankenstein. That was always I always liked that one. Those are the two I like the best because Frankenstein has a nice. He's a nice monster. He helps the kid out. Uh, he was misunderstood because the poor guy was brought back for in this horrible experiment, and I always felt sorry for him. And Werewolf, you know, I suppose it's because of the acting. I always liked that one. I
Okay.
always liked the acting in that one, even though it's not a very good story. Because that's another one of those people that you should have listened and not gone out in the woods and with the full moon, and everybody told him don't do it,
Don't
and he
do
did
it.
it,
You
and he
never
got
listen. Never listen.
and
Never
he got
listen.
bit by the werewolf, and then wonders why he turns into a werewolf. That kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
And Abbott and Costello are always funny. They're always funny. The things there's two people that don't have common sense.
And same question, Lady Gray, favorite scary movie?
Two.
Okay.
Classic one, Night of the Living Dead, the original one.
Okay.
Uh, and then modern is Scream because Scream is kind of making fun of itself a little bit. Um, like you said, where it's poking fun of itself, with the rules of horror movies, don't separate, don't have sex, don't do this, don't do that. I think that was why I liked Scream because it's making fun of its own genre a little bit. Um, so, and Night of the Living Dead was just one of those that's just it was so far ahead of its time that, you
Okay.
know, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and say two myself. The Amityville Horror. I will never, ever, 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 ever watch that again. You
Oh,
know
good
that.
choice.
Yeah, that's terrifies me. I know growing up, my dad was in the military. The Thing from Another World. That was another good scary one. Um, when we was traveling, I would on purposely look outside the window in the car to look for a house like that, and then look away because I don't want to see a house like that because that house just scared the living daylights out of me. So I would say that. And another old time movie for me is The Thing. The Thing, I've seen The Thing a few times. I don't know why, because I think that's kind of terrifying. But other than that, I like Scream. I really don't consider Scream kind of horror just because I think it's a good movie. But yeah, those two are probably my scariest things that I would go for. All right, everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I saw Rob was there. I believe Taco Cat was there. Mark and Mark was there. I, of course, want to thank my two co-hosts, Miss Liz, Miss Lady Gray. Um, Anybody that's watching this in rerun, please like and subscribe. I do want to mention that we're going to be in our shutdown that we're going to start this week, Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, those are two good ones. We're going to be doing our shutdown, so you might see us over the holidays. We might try to do a show here and there, but we just want to go ahead and spend time with our families, spend time with our cats, spend time with our husband that will leave us there for the snake to get us. So maybe you'll see us for the next couple of months. If not, you'll definitely see us in January. Anybody else have anything else to say before we go?
Everybody have a spooky Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving out candy to the kids.
Yes. Good night.
Night.
Yeah.